If you have spent any amount of time online recently, there is a good chance you have seen them. Anime girls with horse ears and tails, running with incredible speed and celebrating on a concert stage like idols? Wait, who wrote this script? Maybe you saw a meme about it, or a video from a big content creator, and a clip about someone quite literally losing their mind over a horse race. This is Umamusume Pretty Derby. A game that, after years of being a phenomenon in Japan, finally had its global launch last month. And overnight, it feels like it's everywhere. A massive wave of new characters, new terminology, and new inside jokes that has just washed up on our shores. But behind the sudden surge of content and the memes is a franchise that is, in its home country, a titan. This isn't some quirky new indie title. It is a multi-billion-dollar cultural juggernaut. So that raises the question, beyond the surface level chaos, what is this Umamusume thing really about? How did a game about horse girls who are also pop idols become one of the most successful and financially powerful media franchises of the 21st century? The answer is a lot more complex, and frankly, a lot more interesting than you might think. So let's get into it. The core idea of Umamusume is this: the souls of legendary real-life Japanese racehorses are reborn as anime girls. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm laughing. This is a very serious discussion. Young women who have the ears and tails of a horse, along with their namesake speed and endurance. They go to a special academy to train, compete in high-stakes race, and when they win, they celebrate by performing a full-blown idol concert on stage. Now, if you're hearing this for the first time, it can sound like a mess, I know. A concept created by throwing darts at a board of all of the popular genres. But it is not random. It is actually a very deliberate fusion of three incredibly powerful pillars of Japanese pop culture. The first, obviously, is the world of professional horse racing. In Japan, this isn't a niche sport. It is a massive industry, rich with decades of history, drama, and passionate fans. It provides a ready-made supply of epic narratives, of underdogs, tragic heroes, and dominant champions. The second pillar is the idol simulation genre. These are games focused on training and developing characters, building a connection with them, and watching them succeed in choreographed performances. The appeal here is the character attachment, right? You want to root for this specific character. And the third pillar is a trend that was at its peak when this project was conceived. It's called moe anthropomorphism. That big word I just said, that is a fancy term for a simple idea. The practice of taking non-human things, inanimate objects, concepts, animals, and personifying them as cute, anime-style characters. The most famous example is probably the Kantai Collection, a game where historical warships were reimagined as girls. Or if you're here on YouTube, you would probably heard of Earth-chan, right? Umamusume simply applied that same logic to famous horses. So you have the drama of a real sport, the character appeal of an idol sim, and the novelty of anthropomorphism all rolled into one. And this blend wasn't an accident. One of the key creative figures behind the project was Akihiro Ishihara, a producer famous for his work on the foundational Idol franchise. The Idol Master, the developer, Cygames, had already made a massively successful Idol Master mobile game, so the expertise for the idol side of the equation was already there. They knew exactly what they were doing, and this is the key observation. The genius of Umamusume wasn't in inventing something entirely new, it was the audacious act of synthesis. It took three proven, successful concepts and fused them together, building it all on the bedrock of a culture that already loved horse racing. Now, the foundational rule of the Umamusume franchise is that every single character is a direct, faithful homage to a real racehorse from Japan's history. This isn't just about borrowing a famous name. The developers meticulously researched the lives of these animals, and they translated their real-world narratives, their personalities, their rivalries, and their legacies into the characters you play. This is where the game's emotional weight comes from, and you can see this clearly by looking at the few key examples. Let's start with Special Week. She is the franchise's main protagonist, the archetypal hero. The real horse's story is like something out of a movie. His mother died shortly after he was born, but he overcame that tragic start to become a dominant champion, winning Japan's most famous races like the Japanese Derby and the Japan Cup. In the game, this is translated perfectly. She is a pure-hearted girl from the countryside who moves to the city, dreaming of becoming the best in Japan. To honor her two mothers, her deceased birth mother and the human who raised her. Her story is the classic relatable entry point for the entire world. And then you have the complete opposite, a horse girl named Haru Urara. She represents the spirit of the underdog. The real Haru Urara is famous for one of the most remarkable records in racing history. She ran in 100 113 races and never won a single one. During an economic recession in Japan, she became a national icon, celebrated as the shining star of losers for her unwavering persistence in the face of constant defeat. In the game, her character is a perfect reflection of this. She is perpetually cheerful, endlessly optimistic, and never stops trying her best. She is a free character that everyone gets, and her story isn't about victory, but about the pure joy of running. And researching this got me really loving this character, dude. So if you want more stories about these horses, make sure to smash that subscribe button and like the video, and I will make more Umamusume videos for ya. But let's continue to the next horse, and this one is a fan favorite, 𝗖់𝗍𝗵𝗵, who represents the chaos of the sport. The real Golshi was an immensely talented champion who was also notoriously temperamental and unpredictable. His most infamous moment came at the 2015 Takarazuka Kinen as the overwhelming favorite to win, and then he decided to just not. He reared up in the starting gate, refused to run properly, and instantly obliterated an estimated 12 billion yen, about 135 million US dollars today, in betting tickets. His in-game counterpart is a loving tribute to this spirit. He is characterized as an ungovernable gremlin, prone to slacking off, playing pranks, and injecting a hilarious dose of unpredictability into everything he does. This commitment to history goes down to the smallest details of character design. There is a consistent design cue. If a character's main hair accessory is on their left ear, it signifies the real horse was a mare, a female. If it's on the right ear or both, it was a stallion. The distinctive white facial markings that many of the horses have, things like blazes and stars, are often creatively woven into the character's hairstyles as color highlights or bangs. This profound respect for history gave the franchise an emotional soul. But a great idea needs a great strategy to become a phenomenon, am I right? So you have this incredibly strange but surprisingly solid blueprint. Now the question then becomes, how do you take an idea like that and turn it into a multi-billion-dollar phenomenon? The answer lies not just in the concept itself, but the corporate machine that brought it to life, a company called Cygames. And their approach to building a franchise is methodical. They operate on a principle known as the media mix. This is a business strategy where you develop a single idea, or what the industry calls an intellectual property, an IP, across many different forms of media all at once. So you don't just make a game, you make an anime, a manga, music, live events, and also the game, all designed to work together and build one massive interconnected world. But where Cygames differ from most is how they do it. Now normally, a game developer has to license out their IP. They pay another studio to produce the anime, another company to publish the manga. This can work, and I would argue that is actually easier. But you do lose a lot of control. Cygames decided to just build the machine themselves. This is called vertical integration. They established their own in-house animation division and then a full-on anime studio called Cygames Pictures. They operate their own digital manga label. What this means is that they own everything from top to bottom. They have near total creative control, ensuring that the characters in the anime are consistent with the characters in the game, and they're also consistent with the horses in real life. And of course, they get to keep all of the revenue from every part of the ecosystem. It is a slow, expensive way to do business, but the payoff is immense. And with Umamusume, this strategy was put to the ultimate test during what should have been a disaster. This is where things get interesting. Now, the game was originally supposed to launch in late 2018, right alongside the first season of the anime, but it didn't. It was hit with major delays, pushed back to 2019 and then 2020. This is what is known in the industry as development hell. And for most new projects, it is a death sentence. The hype dies, the fans move on. But here, the opposite happened. The first season of the anime aired as planned in 2018, and it was a success. It established the world. It got people invested in the characters, Special Week, Silent Suzuka, and it created a core fan base who are now eagerly waiting for the game. And then came the long wait. But instead of letting the IP go cold, Cygames kept it alive with another media. They released the comedic spin-off anime. They launched the highly regarded manga series, Cinderella Grey, which told the story of a different generation of horse girls. So the repeated delays, rather than killing interest, just let the anticipation build for nearly 3 years. And this led to a strategic masterstroke. The game finally launched on February 24, 2021, and this was perfectly timed to coincide with the airing of the anime's second season, which had started a month earlier. The game didn't launch into a cold market, it launched to a prime audience that has been cultivated for years. And the new anime season acted as a massive ongoing weekly commercial. It created this powerful synergistic feedback loop, driving downloads and engagement to staggering levels from day one. The troubled development, far from being the fatal blow, ultimately ensured that Umamusume launched as the hugely anticipated centerpiece masterpiece of an already beloved franchise. So Cygames built the perfect launchpad. They had a captive audience and a multi-platform marketing machine running at full steam. But none of that would have mattered if the game itself wasn't good. And the reason it captured and kept that audience lies in a deeply addictive and masterfully designed gameplay loop. At the heart of Umamusume is the primary game mode, the career mode. And the best way to describe it is as a roguelite training simulator. Now, roguelite is a bit of gamer jargon, and if you played popular games like Hades, you are probably more familiar with the term roguelike. The difference is small, but it's a little bit important. In a classic, strict roguelike, when your run ends, you lose everything. You start the next run with nothing but the knowledge you, the player, have gained. But in roguelite, like in this game, there is a system of permanent progression. You get to carry something over from each run. Unlocks and currency, or in this case, genetics, that makes your future runs a little easier. You are constantly getting stronger in the long term, even if you fail individual attempts. And Umamusume is a perfect example of a roguelite. Each training run is a self-contained session. You pick a horse girl, you start from scratch with basic stats, and you have a limited number of turns to make her as strong as possible for a series of races. It is a game of strategy, not reflexes. You are the trainer, making all of the decisions. Your goal is to balance 5 core stats: speed, stamina, power, guts, and wit. Each turn, you choose a training facility to raise these stats. But the most critical element, the real key to success, isn't the horse girl you're training, it is the deck of 6 support cards you equip before the run even begins. Now these cards, which you get primarily through the game's lottery or gacha system, represent other characters who act as your training partners. If you train in a facility where one of your support characters is present, you get huge bonus stats. The entire meta game revolves around building a powerful and synergistic deck of these cards. They are more important than anything else, and this is where the game's loop and its monetization become one and the same. The gacha system in Umamusume is generally seen as being player-friendly. For a gacha system at least, it gives out a decent amount of free currency, and it has what is called a sparking mechanic. This just means that after 200 pulls on a specific banner, the game lets you choose the featured item you want, guaranteed. It eliminates the worst case scenario of pure bad luck, but its true strength is that it is strategically demanding. The monetization isn't just about collecting your favorite characters, it is about investing in your own performance. Players pull on the gacha for better support cards, because better support cards lead to better training runs. It is a direct investment in your ability to succeed at a game, and that cycle is made permanent by one last brilliant mechanic, the inheritance system. When you complete a training run, the horse girl you just raised is saved as a veteran. For your next run, you select 2 of your previously trained veterans to act as parents. For your new trainee, these parents then pass down a portion of their stats and special genetic factors to the next generation. This creates a powerful self-reinforcing loop. You pull for good support cards, those cards help you train a strong horse girl, and that strong horse girl then becomes an excellent parent, allowing you to train an even stronger generation of racers. It makes every single playthrough feel meaningful, creating a powerful incentive to continually repeat the loop, to keep chasing that perfect combination. It is an incredibly well-designed machine for player engagement. And when you combine that machine with the franchise's deep emotional core, the results start to bleed into the real world. This isn't a superficial reference, it is a deep, profound respect for the source material. And this deep connection to the real story, this pact with the legacies of these animals, did more than just make the game a success. It created a powerful feedback loop that began to blur the lines between the game and the real world, producing an effect that no one could have ever predicted. An effect that would eventually be measured in billions of yen, and a fundamental shift in the entire industry. First, let's look at the raw numbers, because they are staggering. As of March 2024, the Umamusume mobile update has generated over $2.4 billion in the lifetime revenue. It is revenue per download. The average amount of money it makes from every person who installs it is over $120, which is exceptionally high for any mobile game. And what makes these numbers even more remarkable is that over 95% of this revenue has come from a single country, Japan. This isn't a global hit, it is a domestic cultural event. But the Umamusume effect, as it has been called, goes far beyond just money. It has fundamentally changed the sport it is based on. The Japan Racing Association has reported a massive surge in attendance at racetracks, but more importantly, a clear demographic shift in who is attending. The term Umamusumeka, or the Umamusume-ification of the sport, has coined to describe this phenomenon. Racetracks that were once dominated by middle-aged men are now filled with new generations of fans. People in their teens and 20s, including a large and visible contingent of women who were previously a tiny minority in the fandom, this new audience has engaged with the sport in ways no one expected. And the most powerful example of this is the story of a retired racehorse named Nice Nature. Like many other characters in the game, he has an annual birthday donation drive to help support retired racehorses. In 2020, before the game came out, that drive raised a respectable 1.76 million yen. And then, in 2021, after the game's release, contributions from the game's fan base caused that figure to explode to over 35.8 million yen. And the next year, it grew again to over 54 million. This wasn't just a passive fandom, this was a community of game players using their passion to directly fund the real-world care and welfare of actual animals their favorite characters are based on. And this leads to perhaps the most direct and surreal manifestation of the entire phenomenon, the Fujita feedback loop. Susumu Fujita is the billionaire founder of CyberAgent, the parent company of Cygames, explicitly citing the success of Umamusume as his motivation. He has become one of the most significant owners and investors in real-world horse racing industry. He has spent billions of yen at elite horse sales, acquiring a stable of top-tier racehorses. Think about what that means. Profits generated from a virtual game that celebrates the history of horse racing are being directly reinvested into creating the future of the actual sport. The game is quite literally funding the next generation of real-life equine athletes. It is a perfect symbiotic relationship between a product and its inspiration that is simply unparalleled in modern media. It is a story of success that is almost unbelievable in its scope and impact. But this incredible domestic triumph has also created its own set of challenges. As the franchise looks towards the future, it faces significant hurdles that could threaten its long-term health and global ambitions. But when you look at the whole picture, Umamusume is a perfect storm. It is an improbable concept, a fusion of idols and horse racing that should not have worked. It was brought to life by a masterful and patient corporate strategy, powered by an addictive and deeply strategic gameplay loop, and elevated by a profound genuine respect for the history it was borrowed from. The result wasn't just another hit mobile game, it was a cultural force that managed to reshape the very industry it was based on. But this incredible domestic triumph has also created its own set of challenges, and as the franchise looks toward the future, it faces significant hurdles that temper this success story. The threat comes from the legal world. In 2023, the gaming giant Konami filed a patent infringement lawsuit against Cygames. They are seeking 4 billion yen in damages, and more critically, an injunction to halt the operation of Umamusume entirely. While Cygames maintains they are not infringing on any patents, the lawsuit represents a serious and ongoing risk to the franchise's future. And maybe that is the ultimate legacy of Umamusume. Its success might not be measured by its ability to conquer the globe. Its real triumph is in providing a powerful model for how to create a monumental, deeply resonant franchise by celebrating its own specific culture with authenticity and passion. Rather than sanding down its edges for a broad, general global appeal from the start, it is a landmark case study in the power of looking inward. This model was clearly a lightning-in-a-bottle success in Japan, but do you think this level of deep cultural specificity is something that can be translated for a global audience, or is it destined to remain a domestic masterpiece? I'm curious to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, but that is all from me, 𝗖់𝗍𝗆𝗿𝗵, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers!